Welcome to my little space, where heart and hook stitch up a place, where we can together make a refuge, safe for all our sake. Thanks for joining me. I can't believe this is my 18th chapter. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'm putting out a new video every Tuesday. And this week, for this video, I finished a batch of these shrugs that I've shipped off to Star Lily for her to sell at the musical festivals that she sells at. I'll link to her stuff and her Patreon, where you can find the pattern, in the description box. But these were fun. Instead of being really meticulous and trying to get like perfect product photos for my Etsy shop, I just thought I'd be fun and put on my skates to show these ones off. So here's a little compilation of just me rolling up to the camera and back. On Facebook and Instagram, I always post behind the scenes photos in my stories. So that's what these pictures are. These are progress pictures of those shrugs being made. So I ended up making 3 more, plus the one that I hadn't photographed yet from the last chapter of my vlog. And so here I'm just showing each of the batches of yarn that I choose to put in each shrug. This one in particular, you'll see I changed yarns for every single row instead of every 2 rows. So even the straight line around each of the loops is a different yarn. And I quite liked how this one turned out. I did a lot of this one in the roller rink, which is what you can see right there. I thought it would be fun to photograph one panel over the bench, because all the carpet kind of went along with the whole vibe of this shrug. So this one and a couple of the others in this batch are not symmetrical. So I just alternated the yarns for each row for each panel, but I didn't have each panel have the same yarns in each section. So as you can see, it's totally discombobulated, but it has a flow to it. This one I made basically in the middle of the night. So these are the only progress pictures I took of each completed panel before I put it together. And as you can see, this one is also not symmetrical. This is my latest Nana. I just released her on Wednesday. This is my 34th Nana that I've made in my series of Nanas Against Trump and Fascism. This is Nana Dada, named after Dada Neon Crochet. I'll link to her Instagram. She's also a crocheter, and she's the person who I saw making nanas and made me investigate, wait, what is this about? And that's how I learned about Niki de Saint Phalle and came up with my plan. So I just threw up here my little receipts that I've donated so far to the ACLU. For the first couple of nanas, I was only donating a percentage. So that's why you see a couple smaller donations there. But this one's a heftier one, because then I sold a Nana when I had pledged to donate 100%. So going forward, basically, I will still be donating 100% of the proceeds of every Nana to the ACLU. I'm only keeping enough for shipping, and I am stockpiling now a bunch of them. So I'd be happy to offload and to get some more donations made. So check out my shop for which ones I have available, which is a lot, and I'll put the link in the description box. So here is the second one of these shrugs that I made with that shiny ribbon yarn that I showed off in my previous video. It's almost the same, but the colors are slightly different. They're in a slightly different position on this one. And keeping with my practice of naming these after Beatles songs, this one is called Magical Mystery Tour. This one is called Paperback Writer, and it's all in pastels. And as Star Lily has told me, these ones are apparently great for candy ravers, these pastel light colored ones. And here's the one that I would say is the wildest of this bunch. It's called I'm Only Sleeping, and this is the one that's also asymmetrical in a variety of rainbow colors. And in this one, I alternated yarns for even the single chain rounds as well as the loop rounds. So there's a lot more color changing happening. This one, Helter Skelter, was made basically all night, the middle of the night, right before this morning photo shoot. So I finished making this at like 4 a.m. and then I got up at like 5:30 to go out and hit the golden hour. I think I was a little bit on the early side and a little bit too shaded. It could have been better sunlight, but that's all right. So I was very sleep deprived, roller skating around in the morning, probably kind of dangerous. Hello. It is 4th of July. I don't really feel like celebrating, but I am going to go to a family gathering. And the thing that I just learned, a couple things I just learned about the bill that just passed the House of Representatives. If you didn't know about this, just share it however you can. You know, people who voted for Trump may be heartened by, they may be excited by the tax breaks that they're going to be getting if they're in the middle class. If they aren't bottom earners that are actually going to be losing money, they may be excited about their tax break. Well, that's slated to expire in 2028, while the big tax cuts for the very top 1% are permanent. So is it really all that great? Plus, when you take into consideration the higher cost of everything it's going to be affected by tariffs and stuff, I'm thinking all that is going to outweigh any benefits that you'll see over the course of 3 years before you stop getting those tax cuts again. And then the other thing that I found out is that some of the most unpopular parts of the bill, like millions of Americans getting kicked off of healthcare, that is not slated to take effect until just after the midterm elections. So it's like, for anybody that's not paying attention to this, who voted for Trump, who thinks that this bill is a great thing, it must be a great thing because Trump is doing great things, a lot of people are going to be really hurting from this just after they vote for their Republican representatives again. So it's really angering. I'll share this information here on my channel, but I have such a small audience here. I wish more people were informing themselves. So if you're watching this, stay informed. Keep doing your due diligence in learning everything that you can to see what is happening and what are the effects of the decisions being made, and how can you change the trajectory of our future with your vote in the future. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say politically, I think. And the other thing I was going to do right now was show you my latest fresh off the hook completion. This is Catbug. As you can see, it's a blue cat combined with a ladybug, and she has her wings. So the child that requested this one said she'd like it to have the wings that can lift up. So you can imagine it flying. Yay. Hopefully Catbug doesn't have a cat tail, because I couldn't find any pictures of the backside of it. I'm not sure. I don't even know what it's from. I don't know if it's a show or a cartoon or if it's just like a meme or a character drawing that, I don't know. I'm guessing it's from like YouTube. Anyway, that was pretty quick and easy. I just made it up as I went, but I did write down my pattern as I went. This is just a half circle. These are done in rows, and then I went around the edge. And for the body, I just started from, no, I started from this end and I expanded a circle. And then here I did some decreases with some double crochets to kind of get the face shaping to come in a little bit. And then I increased again. Did I increase again? Yeah, I increased again a little bit to make the body a little bit round, and then did a bunch of rows and then decreased again. And yeah, just simple little legs, quite simple. And just to remind you again, this is Catbug. I guess it's from a YouTube series. So that's what I was going off of, just some Google images that I found. And this is what I made. I thought a slow-mo video would be suitable to show the wings. How it's got the 2-layered wings, basically like I think with a ladybug, the outer is just a shell that they hold up while the interior wings flap. But I don't know. I'm not an entomologist. I decided not to take out my photo booth this time. I didn't need listing photos. I just was going to give it as a gift. So just to show it off and for my own records, here are some pictures. And now I actually have some other orders to fill. What I just did is I shipped off 13 of those shrugs to Star Lily so that she can have them in her stock for when she's about to hit the scene on the festival scene, the music festivals that are going on all summer. And we'll see how well they sell this year. They sold really well last year. I'd love to help her restock again, because that's really good for my business. And I did get one order for a shrug from an individual, just one for one person. This isn't like a big batch for reselling right now. And it's remaking, I'll flash a picture of the shrug that I made before that she saw and she liked. And so I told her, you know what, I actually have more of most of those same yarns and I can recreate it pretty closely. So this yarn for this row is a different one than the one in the original, because I don't have any more of that one. That was a one-off. But this is kind of similar, definitely a similar look, especially from a distance. You won't even be able to tell probably. This is the kind of the stand. This and this are kind of standout yarns in this shrug. They kind of make the piece. And this is so thin. Get the strand. I'm trying to get a starting strand. There we go. As you can see, when I pull it like that, it's basically just a thread with these little frilly bits on it. So I wanted to crochet this along with another strand because it's so thin. So I had paired it with a white thread before, but this person requested, could I swap out the white thread for a pink? So I actually have this pink cotton thread. So I'll crochet with these together. So I'll show you what that looks like. So it'll have a very, very similar look, but you just won't see the pops of white. With this red, you'll see pops of pink. And I'll photograph this one as well. I really quite liked photographing those last 4 shrugs that I made in roller skates in my driveway, and I think I might do that again for this one. You know, I wasn't looking to get perfect product images so that I could sell them, like make listings in my shop, because for those I had already had the agreement to be selling those to Star Lily. And so and for this one I'm making it to order for somebody. So it's not like I need the product images for my shop to make a listing because it's available, because it's not available. So I was thinking, just for funsies, I would go out there and roller skate and get some images and video that way. Gotta promote my stuff in whatever interesting ways I have at my disposal. And roller skates is one of those things. So anyway, I'm going to get started on that. I have this much made of the 2 side panels that will be the sleeves. And then the next row is this yarn. And this will go for the 3rd row here. It'll also go for the 1st row around the neck. So maybe I'll set up a time lapse now and you can watch me crochet for a bit while I drink my fresh cup of iced coffee. I thought I'd tell you about the origins of those skates that I've already been showing off in this chapter. My parents bought me those when I was 13 years old in Venice Beach, California. We used to live down in LA area, and so we would frequently go with our skates or bikes to Santa Monica, Venice Beach, riding up and down the pathways that are there for the purpose of biking and skating, that kind of stuff. And so I've had those ever since. I am now 40 years old. I'll be 41 this year. And I'm still wearing those skates. So obviously the quality is top notch. And I'm trying to remember the name of the skate shop there. I think it's like at least historic for Venice Beach skate shop where we got those skates. So now I'm going to make the neck opening, the 1st row that goes around the neck. And just if you're a crocheter and you follow my page, I just thought I'd tell you my little trick that I like to do. Obviously you don't have to, but when I start something with a chain, I often like to, and like with these shrugs, I often like to, so there's my slip knot on my hook, which is how we start with crochet a lot of the time, if we're starting with a chain at least. I like to do 1 chain, and I don't count that as a chain with my work. And as I'm holding the yarn and the hook, I tighten up by pulling on that tail of yarn. I tighten up that first chain that I made, and it becomes a solid knot there. Because if you weave in this end when you're done, but that first chain, it's easy for it to tighten up or loosen up one way or the other. And I just like the security of knowing that that's a tightened little knot, and then I can weave in this end. And also when I crochet back into it, it's not gonna stretch out, shortening this tail, because otherwise if you don't do this and you just crochet back into that, you kind of have to keep holding onto your tail to make sure it doesn't stretch out too far. So anyway, that's what I do. So now I'm going to start the chain that's going to go around the neck and make that row. So I'm most of the way around the neck piece here, as you can see, and I wanted to pop back on video to give you a little tip in case you're a crocheter who follows me. I've gotten to the end of this ball of yarn. I had a medium to small size ball of yarn of this that I wanted to use up before getting into this. So my tip with this pattern, or anything like this pattern, is you don't want to change the yarns. You don't want to attach a new yarn in the middle of like a chain loop like this, because it'll just be really hard to hide the ends. So I chained the length that I needed for this loop. I've done the slip stitch to attach it here, and people have different ways of attaching new strands of yarn. I really do just like to tie it on to the previous. So I'll try to hold my hook here and my end of yarn, of old yarn, and this is the way I like to do it. And I've tried many different ways, and this way never ever seems to come undone. So I don't know the names for knots, but I hold the two strands together. These are the two ends. This down here is my working yarn, my new working yarn. And I'm pinching them together right at the base of my work, right behind the work, like at the back side, right behind the hook and the work. And I wrap it around and pull through. Both strands wrap around, pull through like that. And then I carefully snug the knot all the way down towards, it's hard to do this and show you, snug the knot down all the way down towards the work so that there isn't a bit of length there. It might, if you're new to this, that might take a little bit of getting used to. And obviously you don't have to do it that way. A lot of people just like to attach their new yarn with a slip stitch and leave their old strand there. I don't know if most people knot it off or just weave in the end, and weaving in maybe is enough to secure it most of the time. But I really like to really secure it with a knot. So there's my old strand ending here. You can see my old strand of the blue is around the hook. And then here's the new strand, and there's the knot. And then later, when I've crocheted it, I will weave in the ends such that the knot kind of goes into the work as well. And then I weave in one direction and then back the other way and then snip it. So it's really, really secure. And even if any ends pop out a little bit, there's still that knot that's holding it together, so nothing will come unraveled. And I've never found one of these kind of knots to undo, but I've done square knots before, where if you don't know what a square knot is, it's you do like the crossover and under, like you're tying your shoe, like the first step of tying your shoe, and then you do the next one in the opposite direction, so they kind of interlock. The two knots kind of go the opposite way as each other, and it helps them to lock in place. I've had those knots come undone on multiple occasions, so I don't do those knots ever anymore. I went through a little experiment trying with those knots. I even tried with those knots and snipping it close to the work, like I've seen explained done before by other people, and I've had those knots come undone. So I don't trust that system at all. I do this knot. I went back to my old trusty system of doing this knot and the extra work of weaving in the ends, and it hasn't failed me yet. So 5, 6, 7. So now I'm talking and crocheting. And the other thing that I wanted to point out and show you with this pattern or with others is something that's really easy to miss sometimes. So I've just been slip stitching into this chain, and now I need to count 5 chains that I'm going to skip and crochet into the 6th one. And it's really easy oftentimes to miss this very first chain right after where I slip stitched into. Sometimes, like this one, I can actually see pretty well. Sometimes I actually don't really see it at all until I really pull the work apart. And so that's a really easy way to skip stitches that you didn't mean to skip. So working with chains like this, working stitches into chains like this, always look out for that hidden stitch because it wants to like kind of disappear on you. And then the other thing, I need to do one more loop on this. This pattern is really easy there are a few things. Well, basically you want to make sure to count constantly. You want to go back and check your work throughout each round as you go, and check multiple times. So if you don't want to have to undo a lot, because you're going to be doing loops of 2 and loops of 3, and it's really easy to mess it up And then if you do, you might not realize it until even the next row when you're going into the loops that, oh, so I always go back and check 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. So this spot needs 3. So I'll do one more loop here. And just a plug again for this pattern, if you like the look of this pattern and you're a crocheter and you're interested, I did not write it. It is a design by Star Lily Creations. That's her business name. And she has tutorials in video format on her Patreon currently for the basics of how to make this pattern. There aren't a lot of instructions there for adjusting for size, but I've kind of figured out my own way of doing that. And I know that she's in the works right now on getting a written pattern up for sale. But if you're interested in this pattern, and if you look really closely at my pictures, you might notice that I do something a little different. The thing I do different is that right across here, in between these spots where you put the loops, the instructions say to crochet 5 stitches over the chain, but I don't crochet single crochets over the chain. I do 5 chains over the chain, so that each one of these spots looks like these other petals, because the resulting material is, it looks like flowers, you know, like 6-petaled flowers. This way, these spots that are that would be solidly crocheted over now look like all of the other spots. So these are open. So I like that look better. It just occurred to me, I was like, why are we making that section solid when all the other sections are not solid? And also, after I started doing it this way, I realized that the whole drape of it was nicer, I thought. So that's one adjustment that I do that I like and I would recommend. If you're interested in hopping over there and trying out her tutorial. And it's really, if you've never done Patreon, it's really easy and affordable. She has it set up so that you can get that tutorial at the $5 level. So you just pay $5 whenever you sign up, and then I believe this is how it works. And then on the first of each month, you get charged another $5. Now, if all you're interested in right now is that pattern, that tutorial, you could pay $5, you know, look at the tutorials, take your own notes on how to do it, and you could just cancel, because you can cancel anytime. So basically you're getting the pattern for $5. I mean, that's a really easy way to go about it. So you don't have to feel like you're in this big commitment. Of course, if you don't cancel, it's going to charge, by the next first of a month, it'll charge you another $5. But even if you forget and it charges you another $5, okay, so now you have another month to explore the other videos on her Patreon. And as long as you just cancel before the first of a month, then it'll stop charging you. So I found it quite forgiving, easy. It's not like you're signing up for a year worth or something. You're not signing up for a big commitment of paying every month. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and maybe I'll just crochet in real time now and we can listen to music. Or maybe I'll do voiceover, I don't know. So back to my roller skates. I'm wearing them now whenever I do go skating with my kids at the roller rink, and obviously now for photo shoots. And I have to wear the thinnest socks I can find with them because they are so tight on my feet. Apparently I can still wear them, but my feet feel pretty smushed in them, and then they are so ready to come out of the skates at the end of a skate session that's like 2 or 2.5 hours long. But for my purposes, it still works, and they're still holding up. Meanwhile, the pair that my partner bought on Amazon when we started skating together has already broken after a few skating sessions. And they seemed like they were going to be good quality, but I mean, it just goes to show that, you know, if you buy something in the 90s in Venice Beach, California at a skate shop, it's meant to last. I am super proud that I've been practicing going backwards at the rink in the center part. It's quite scary at first, but I'm starting to get a little bit smoother about it. I don't look quite like I'm about to fall at every second that I'm trying to go backwards. That's something I never attempted as a kid. And another thing I never attempted as a kid was doing like picking up your foot and stepping over the other skate when going around turns. That's another thing I've started incorporating as an adult. So I'm quite impressed with myself that, you know, I'm an old dog starting to learn new tricks. So I just realized something. I'm going to undo going back a little bit. Actually, I'm going to end up going back just beyond where I attached the new strand of yarn because I realized when I got to the last place to put a batch of these loops, I realized that the space after it had one extra chain that it shouldn't have. So that meant that either I started with the wrong number of chains around or I skipped the wrong number of stitches at some point. So that you saw me counting back there. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. And it was right at the spot where I started recording. I had already done the stitch into the wrong chain before I started recording. But yeah, that whole thing was... All right, so I'm going to redo. And now you can see, now that I've undone it, my knot is in the wrong position because, as like I said, I want the knot in an easy place to hide, and it's not going to be an easy hide if it's in one of these. Pardon the interruption there. I had to delete some things off of my phone to create some storage, to free up some storage space. So I got cut off there, but what was I saying? So basically I'm going to redo the knot here now that I'm stitching into the right spot. The same way I just showed you. Oh, and it's just off camera. That's okay. Like I said, it's good to keep counting as you go. I didn't have to undo all that much though. All right, now I've gotten back to the starting place with the correct number of chains underneath the place I'm skipping. Now, the other thing to mention is there are a couple different ways to do this stitch pattern, and depending on which pattern or tutorial of Star Lilies you look at, she has done it different ways, and so she has instructed it different ways. I prefer, and I can't remember which way she instructs it for this particular pattern tutorial, and I've done it both ways, and different people like one version over the other for whatever reasons, um, you know, to each their own. The way I like to do it is the way where you do all the loops first individually, and then you combine them together with the next row. There's another way where you can kind of attach the loops as you go in the row with loops. And both look just great, I think. But I actually, somehow to my mind, the math just maths better this way. I feel like I can get the loops joined right at the tops of the loops a little more even. But like, you wouldn't ever know if you're just looking at the garments, you know, which way it was done, or if one way is slightly more symmetrical than the other. And then with the way I do the joins, the other thing I do is, rather than just ending it here at the bottom, I chain up, I slip stitch up the side of this petal till I get to the top, because that's where I want my next yarn for the next row to attach. Usually I do a different yarn there. And instead of ending off this yarn that I am ending, I'm not going to use this yarn anymore for the next row. Rather than ending it off down here, I'm gonna tie it onto the new yarn up here. So I bring my crochet up here, and this is just my thing, just talking about my process. You can do it if you want, take it or leave it. So I've snipped it off, ready to attach the next yarn for the next row, and the next one I'm going to be doing is these two together. Oops. So that will get tied onto this yarn end here at the top of this loop, and I'm pretty sure I'm in what I'm talking about with all of this. I'm not giving very much of the pattern away, so you really can't you can't know all that goes into this design without heading on over to Star Lily's Patreon at the moment, or in the future. I don't know how long it's going to be before the written pattern comes out, but when that's out, that will be available too. And I'll put links to her shop and her Patreon and everything in the description box of this video. So now I'm getting going with the stuff for this row, and this is fun. This stuff is fun. It's a very festive looking version of this garment, so I'm excited to see what this one looks like. See if it has much of a different look to the original, because with a couple of the yarns being different, it will technically be different, but I think it will look quite similar. I'm still going to give it its own unique name, because it is its own unique garment, because to date, I haven't been able to exactly recreate any of the shrugs that I've made, just because of the nature of what yarns I'm using, how I'm going about it, and how much yarn needs to be used for each shrug. More yarn of each color needs to be used, obviously, if you're repeating rows in the garment, and so like this one, I did have to have a good amount of this multicolored yarn and this red fuzzy. In the last batch of sweaters that I made, I experimented with using more individual balls of yarn without having to use as much of each yarn, and then alternating rows for each panel, but not necessarily not doing the same yarns for each row of each panel across the board. Because when I do that, I have to have a good amount of yarn for the last couple rows, because I'm doing that for all 3 panels. So I've enjoyed doing some asymmetrical, non-pattern repeating shrugs. They just feel a little bit more unique, a little bit more wild, even though this is pretty unique and wild as it is. So anyway, I'm going to get going with that. I'll check back in at some point. Okay, I didn't record any of this, but I also had 2 mouth puppets to finish with tongue ties, and for a customer, as well as a order for a Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson doll. So I made another one of those. And I got started on my next Nana. Only by strict technicality can I call myself a professional skater, because when I worked at the Gaslight Melodrama in Bakersfield for a season, which was a paid gig, there was one show that I wore my roller skates, and as you can see in these pictures, and I always made the audience gasp when I rolled right up to the edge of the stage and then did a quick little turn stop, and it was fun. And then during intermissions, I would roll around in the audience selling ice creams, I think. And then when I was doing extra work in Hollywood for TV shows and movies, I got a gig once I responded to a call that was needing extras who could roller skate. And I was like, that's me. So I went and I got the job, and I roller skated in one episode of Disney Channel's show called Zeke and Luther. There's an episode called Roller Dorks, and I was one of the roller dorks. It was kind of like just for this one episode, there was sort of like a Romeo and Juliet type of plot between the skateboarders and the roller dorks, which were the roller skaters. So there was like a little love story, kind of Romeo and Juliet-esque. Anyway, working on that one episode, I ended up getting a SAG voucher, which was cool at the time. I was trying to shoot for trying to get some SAG vouchers. I never saw that episode until in the last year or two, when I decided to look up that show on Disney Plus, since we have Disney Plus now, and I was able to watch. So if you ever want to see me as a roller dork in Zeke and Luther, look up Zeke and Luther. It is on Disney Plus, and I don't know what episode number it is, but it's the episode called Roller Dorks. And you see me as a roller dork rolling around in the skate park area, and then you also see me up on the roof, and then you also see me not as a roller dork, but as I'm wearing a couple different outfits as just an extra in the donut shop, where you see either just the back of me or just the side of me in the background. It's really, really easy to miss, because when you're watching a show, you're watching the main actors in the center of the frame. You're not watching for the extras, but if you know that you're looking for me, you can pretty easily spot me. I had my hair dyed red at the time. But then, get this, I looked up information about the episode, and on the Disney Wiki page, there's a cover photo for each episode, I guess. And for the episode of the Roller Dorks, there I am in the picture. So anyway, it's a fun bit of my history that is, it's always fun to tell those kinds of stories. Hello. Well, I thought I'd show off my little pile of completed things. I showed you I was working on Ketanji Brown Jackson doll for a customer. 2 mouth puppets with tongue ties. Now, this is one customer ordered 2. She didn't specify button color. So I grabbed 2 buttons at random to decide the color. One is a light pink and one is a white. And then this is that shrug that I finished. And I have to say props to my customer for saying she liked the idea of using a pink thread to go with this red fuzzy yarn instead of a white thread. I liked the white thread on the other one as well, but the pink just it's just a little more subtle. It's not quite as bright pops of white in there. So that's fun. I'm going to photograph this tomorrow morning in my roller skates, and you'll see that. And that's what I have right now that's finished. And now I thought I'd show you my progress on this Nana doll. This is my 35th Nana, I believe. She will be available for purchase in my shop. Once again, for a donation, I will take that money and donate it to the ACLU, minus shipping costs. $10. I'll keep $10 for shipping. So for this one, she's actually going to be named after Anne Frank. Now, I'm a big dork, but that made me think of hiding, and that made me think of camo. So I decided to make each chunk of this doll out of yarns that are multicolored, color shifting, multicolored. So she's kind of entirely camo. But then I gave her, for the edges between, the edging between the different yarns, I'm doing this fun, bright, fuzzy purple, or it's kind of a muted purple, but it's bright enough for me. I'm thinking it's like, it's like her personality shining through all the hiding. Anyway, I don't know. Dorky. Nobody would have gotten that if I hadn't explained it. And it's not really meant to be that deep. It's more just like each Nana is named after somebody I find inspiring. I'm not trying to like really make a Nana that's like encompasses that person at all. That's not really my goal. But sometimes I'll take a little bit of inspiration from the person and incorporate it into the decisions that go into the doll. So she needs her arms and her head and her breasts, and then some sort of embroidery, and then she'll be done. So yeah, let's get to some crocheting. Also, before beginning, I just wanted to show off my shirt a little. Find what feels good. I'm trying not to make my chair squeak too much for you. I got this probably over 10 years ago from Adrienne Mishler's website for her. If you don't know, if you're into yoga at all, you probably know of Adrienne. She has a page, a channel on YouTube called Yoga with Adrienne, and she's like the biggest YouTube yoga person. She's really quite famous at this point, but I was following her before she was like hugely famous, and I actually even got to go to a couple of her live sessions when she went on tour, yoga tour, and she came to LA a couple times. This was right after the first class I took with her. It was just at a regular size yoga studio, just sort of a regular size yoga class, not a ton of people. And then I think it was maybe the year later that I went again, and it was at this big venue. And she had placed one of these note cards with a message on it, handwritten for each and every student that came that day. I took a couple of pictures. I took a picture of her on the stage before the session started. Here's a picture of the whole group of us that she ended up posting afterwards. You can see me. I'll put an arrow where I am with the purple pants. I used to be more sentimental, and I kept this card for a while, but eventually I ended up just tossing it, I think, during one of our moves. So that was cool. She wasn't my first yoga teacher, but she definitely has. I would totally recommend if you want to try yoga for the first time, or if you want to kind of get back into it, but you don't want to go be a part of a studio, you want to do it from home. Totally recommend her channel. She definitely helped me with her channel during lockdown, during COVID, when my yoga studio shut down in person, and then I ended up moving, and I never ended up finding a studio that worked for me the way that my old studio that I loved did. So I've basically just stuck with home practice ever since shutdown, and her page is a wealth of knowledge and tips and just practices, tons and tons of practices. She even has like 30-day challenges, a bunch of them that are fun, because you can, you don't have, it takes the guesswork out of which video to do. So I recommend that. There are other YouTube yoga teachers that I love as well, don't get me wrong, but yeah, this shirt takes me back. This shirt goes way back. And the phrase "find what feels good," it just refers to, in yoga, you're not going for a pose to look just right, to look just like the teachers or just like someone else that you see. Within that, you're going towards a pose, you're going towards stretching in a particular way, but you only go as far as it still feels good. You don't want to hurt yourself, basically, is what it means. Anyway, to the crochet. So there she is with one arm, prior to stuffing, of course. And now I need to do the other arm and the head. I don't know if I'll have enough of this. I have a feeling I might run out before I finish the other arm or head. And if so, I'll just switch to a different yarn and we'll see what happens. These are always a little bit of a surprise, and I never know exactly what they're going to end up looking like, because I'm using odds and ends and scrap balls and stuff. And let's say hi to Willie. Willie. Hi, buddy. You can't see from there, but he's got, he had his two front legs kind of holding him up outside of the bed. Hey, buddy. Let's say hi. Oh, buddy. He's been getting these, I guess, worry wounds. I don't know if that's what you'd call it. Where he'll scratch himself repeatedly in one spot or lick himself repeatedly in one spot. He'll do both until his skin gets raw, and then I have to just keep putting cortisone cream on it. He's looking like he's unsure about being up here with me right now. He's usually very stoked to be able to be invited into my lap, except right now he's probably unsure about it, because I don't usually have him here with me, because usually if I'm here, I'm crocheting and he's not allowed with me. He's just watching to see if I'm about to get up and go somewhere, because he likes to stay right at my feet. He likes to go with me whenever I go somewhere else around the house. Oh, buddy. He always looks a little unsure, a little worried. Gonna shake? No? Oh, he needs a shower. He has one blue eye and one brown eye. I ended up getting an order for one of my parasols, so I had just gotten out the umbrella and some yarns to start working on it, And then it turns out the person ordered it by accident. So that's fine. I refunded it. And that just means I don't have that pressing order to make right now. So I got this photographed and I'm shipping out today. And you'll see some of the shipping process in my next video next Tuesday. So for now, I'm signing out. Crochet hooks and colors bright. Crafting wonders day and night. Join the fun. Come see it through. Subscribe and I'll create for you.